What's up, guys? We are back for another NECA Toys review, digging back into the 1990 movie TMNT quarter scale line. So we've had the Turtles, and they are stellar action figures, stellar massive action figures. So of course, NECA is giving us the other side. We're getting some villains. And the first one that they've released is a foot soldier. And yeah, this thing looks pretty wild. As you can see, it is absolutely massive. It comes in an equally enormous box that features the kind of poster art imagery from the 1990 movie. So you've got them there in the window. We've got the Turtles down there on the bottom coming out of the manhole cover. You got product shots on the side, and then the back of the box gives you a little bit of a write-up as well as more product shots and then a shot of the Turtles from the movie itself. So great presentation as usual, but we got to pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the packaging, and as you can see, we're doing things a little bit different. Since this guy is just so big, I figure we'll just do a review where he is on camera with me because, frankly, he's just too big for my review space in its current state of affairs. So we have got our absolutely massive and, dare I say, almost perfect foot soldier here from NECA. This guy is about 17 inches tall, and I'll show you what he looks like with one of the Turtles here shortly. But we're going to run through all the normal stuff, take a look at articulation, and then of course take a look at this sculpt, and we'll pepper in some really close-up shots of this guy as well so you can get some in-depth looks into the detail here, because that's really the name of the game with this particular figure, is detail. Every single inch of this figure is covered in sculpt. There is just detail covering him, all kinds of texture. Everything here has a grit and a feel to it, and I'm very, very happy with how this guy turned out. The only real negative for me personally is that he's so expensive, I cannot really justify having more than one yet. Maybe. We'll see. So let's jump right in and see what he can do. So we have got a head and neck that has a distinct ball peg. So you've got a neck that can move. So you can see we've got tremendous rotation right here so he can get his head to lean to the side. You've got down, you've got up, and then of course full rotation. The arms can go out pretty far, and you've got a pretty wide gap here at the shoulder, which, while it might not look the greatest, it definitely is very functional, and once you've posed him, it's not really an issue. You've got an arm that can, of course, swing back and forth. There is no upper bicep swivel, but you have, you know, the double jointed elbows from NECA that basically allow for a bicep swivel. So you've got the top of the elbow, but bottom of the bicep, which works just fine. Then you've got wrist or forearm swivel, you've got wrist swivel, and then of course you have hinges as well. None of the hinges are vertical though, which I think is a distinct negative. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but he has melee weapons, so a vertical hinge would have been nice. The waist is one solid piece, so you've got this entire brick up here basically, and he can bend side to side, so you can see him do a little bobble action, and then he can go forward, and then he can go backwards a little bit, and of course you've got twist. He does have a little bit of a hindrance here. Of course, being so big, you know, you're not going to have this guy in the most dynamic poses. So I think it accomplishes its goal well enough. It probably could be a little more mobile, but at the same time, that probably would have caused issues with sculpt, maybe afforded some problems with design in general. The legs are incredibly sturdy, so you've got really, really hard ratchets, and you're definitely going to hear them. Kick him up there. So he has a pretty high kick. I mean, you can get him to do full like karate kicks and stuff like that. They'll go all the way out just like that. And it's a good sound. It's not a bad sound. It's just loud. And then you've got twist at the joint there. You've got twist at the knee as well. And then you can do pretty good as far as these double joints. So he goes back pretty far. It's kind of boxy, but it works. And then again, you know, you can twist in there a little bit. So you can pull those knees, and they're very sturdy. I've had no issues with any of the joints being any more stuck than that. I mean, that wasn't really bad. And then you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down at the ankles. If there's one joint that I would say is maybe a little stiff, it's the rocker. It's not a bad stiff, it's just stiffer than some of the others, and honestly, it's not a bad thing because it helps to afford a little bit more rigidity when it comes to posing this guy, because it's a lot of plastic. There's a bunch of stuff here, but he holds his poses really nicely, and I've had no issues with this guy falling over. Just like with the Turtles though, these things are articulated really nicely. They of course have a great deal of size, But let's be honest, the real reason that I want these is just because of the source material. The 1990 TMNT movie is easily one of my favorite movies of all time. Honestly, I watch it a lot still because the kiddo absolutely loves watching it, so I will indulge her daily, basically. But this is almost a perfect interpretation of the 1990 movie design. And I know what a lot of folks out there are thinking, well, we're getting these in 7-inch scale now. You know, of course, now we know for sure. This guy's been out for a short while, and we know now for sure that we're getting that SDCC set of 7-inch figures. And I am very, very excited to see this guy scaled down, but at this scale, this thing looks truly impressive. And again, the real negative for me is that I don't have 2 of them because you can't just have 1. But the figure here is truly remarkable. Like I mentioned previously, there is tons of detail everywhere. The figure is basically just black for the most part. Of course, you've got a little bit of color here and there for the bandana, for the hands, but the figure is mostly just molded in black, and then it has a bit of a wash all over it. So it's not just a flat black or just straight out of the mold black. It definitely has some attention. There's tons of wrinkles all over it, texture on every inch of the suit. You've got the belt piece down here, and then of course you've got your gauntlets, which they are a separate piece. They're not molded on the arms. So you've got your gauntlets here, and these are molded just plastic, but they're a separate piece from the actual hand wraps underneath. And these can be moved, and they kind of move so you can line them up with the hand. So you've got the hand guard here that is attached to the hand, but then you've also got this piece. So as you move and pose this figure, you can slide that around a bit. So it's a nice way to do that. There is a ton of detail in there. All these little rings that are in there basically are very, very nicely done. The one oddity for this figure is the belt area. So they got the sculpted on belt that's part of the torso here, but then there's also this black piece of just like elastic fabric. And this, as far as I can tell, is meant to mimic as best as possible the actual functional belt, so you can put like a sai in there or some nunchucks. Because I don't think they actually have this, because it's a different color. And I'm not sure I really like it. It may come off, you know, I could pop it off the figure. I don't know that I'm going to keep it on there, but it definitely is functional as far as using it to hold a weapon of some kind. So I think that's what they're going for. And then, you know, to continue down, you've got the same kind of texture on the legs that run all the way down, wrinkles all over, great proportions. The figure just looks good. And then you've got the kind of quintessential two-toed design for, you know, a ninja type of character. Now, that's all good and well. The figure looks fantastic. It's huge, it's incredibly detailed, it's really nicely textured. The head sculpt is truly remarkable. I think it's absolutely well done. There is a great deal of detail there. You've got the, you know, the kind of bug eye lenses. You've got the little, the 8 holes there for the, or the 12 holes rather, for the mouth on the front. And then you've got the bandana, which does have, just like the turtles, we've got the actual, you know, soft goods here. So you can kind of drape it over a shoulder, or, you know, just let it hang, but you've got that kind of functionality similar to what the turtles have. And then you've got the dragon doji up there on top of the bandana, which just looks fantastic. Tampo's really nicely done. So, I mean, I really had no doubt in my mind this guy was going to look fantastic, and it truly does. But of course, there is a lot more here, because just like with the turtles, this dude comes with a tremendous number of accessories. So accessories, this guy has a lot. That's the easiest way to say it. He's got a ton. We have got 6 extra hands and then a huge smattering of accessories as far as weaponry goes. So you can see I've already got something here. So just to kind of show off the fact that, you know, this belt, this elastic piece can in fact be used to hold weapons of some kind. Not all of them, obviously, but like a sai will fit in there, nunchucks will fit in there. And speaking of, you know, you've got a sai here. So this is similar, you know, to what you would expect to see. It's not the same thing that Raph comes with or anything, though. So silver with some black. And then we have got this monster here. We've got the, you know, the kind of fantastic, weird-looking axe that they used to destroy April's apartment in that amazing fight scene. And there is a lot of detail on this, not just the sculpt, but there is a lot of wash all over the blade as well to make it look used. We've got 2 sets of nunchucks. You've got this guy here, which is kind of more in line with what Mikey comes with. It's just got a rope. So you've got this black with just a black rope, and then you've got this guy here, which actually has a real metal chain. So it's black with silver accents and then the silver chain. We've got 1 katana sword, black and silver. It's pretty much the theme here as far as colors go. And then you've got a single tonfa as well, just in black plastic, no paint on this guy. So, you know, he's got what, 1, 2, 3, 6 weapons, 6 different weapons. And, you know, this is the thing that calls out to me and says, you need to buy another one, because then you'll have at least enough to show off some of these at the same time. And I'm really hoping that NECA releases that weapons rack that we've seen them display at Toy Fair in San Diego previously, so I can display all of these, because it's really cool to have this stuff out, but I don't want to just shove these in a drawer somewhere. They look too cool otherwise. And then, like I said, he does have other hands. So we've got the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package, so you're just your standard hands. And then you've got 2 style pose hands, and all of these have the hand guards on the top of them as well, with that same design. So it's the exact same thing as these, just with different poses. So you've got 2 style pose hands here, and then we've got 2 sets of gripping hands. So you've got a set that is slightly larger in terms of grip, and that would be to hold most everything here. So the tonfa, the axe, the sword, the nunchucks to some degree, and then you've got a smaller gripping set of hands as well that will hold some of the other weapons a little better on the nunchucks, and then specifically for the sai, because it's got a smaller diameter than the other, so it needs a tighter grip. So you've got options, so you don't have something that's just kind of wobbling around in there. So, I mean, you know, you get a huge monstrous figure, and then you have a huge array of accessories that comes with them. Use them on this guy, give him some of the turtles, whatever you want to do. You have a lot of options. I mean, that's cool, right? You can't argue that it's cool to actually have stuff of this size from such an iconic scene and, you know, just iconic movie in general. And then, as I mentioned before, here is a quick size comparison. So we've got our foot soldier, we've got Leonardo here, my favorite turtle, and they scale pretty well. I'm not sure they scale 100%. They basically are meant to be the same size, but they aren't really the same size. The turtles were always a little bit shorter and stockier, but they're basically the same height. The turtles still retain that same stockiness, so, you know, this guy almost looks a little thin to me next to the turtles, but it looks good enough. So I'm not sure it's worth complaining about, really. It's just something that I keep seeing, but otherwise I think they go together really nicely. You know, again, it's one of those things where I'd love to have more than one foot soldier to accompany the 4 turtles. So I think they do look really cool together, and for someone who could get multiple foot soldiers next to the 4 turtles, I mean, that makes for a stellar scene. So overall, it's pretty obvious we have a huge winner here, literally and figuratively. This thing is everything I wanted it to be, and then some. It's an enormous, highly detailed, well-articulated figure from one of my favorite movies of all time for one of my favorite properties of all time. NECA does a consistently fantastic job with the quarter scale turtle line. The foot soldier is no exception. It only gets me more excited for Shredder. And my only real gripe is that I don't really care for this little elastic belt thing. Otherwise, it's a pretty flawless figure. There's very little to actually complain about here. They've executed on this just as well as I expected them to. A huge array of accessories and just a fantastic package all around. The really only issue that I actually have is that I couldn't justify buying a second one, but time will tell on that. We may end up with 2 down the road. So I would urge anyone who's even remotely interested in these to snatch them up. They're not going to be around forever, and this guy is a great addition to the quarter scale line, and it's something that every TMNT fan should get a hold of. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys quarter scale foot soldier. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.